Hello everybody, this is Napa Fan here, and this is the longest race of the season, race number 14 in season number 8 of the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. We are here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coca-Cola 600. 80 laps of action around this 1.5 mile racetrack in Concord, North Carolina. 120 miles in length here today. And we cap off Indy 250 Week 2019 with this huge race, the halfway point of the season in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series for season number 8. And after that wild Indianapolis 250, which I cannot mention because of the guy alongside me, don't want to spoil it for him before it actually goes up, but we can just assume that it was a wild race. And I'm going to ask you, Luke, what are the similarities between that race that we saw earlier today and this one? This one a little bit more of an endurance race where position means a lot. Do you see any similarities in how these guys are going to race today, considering that this is also their longest race of the season?
The endurance factor, as you said, that's really what it comes down to. You're not necessarily going to be making these crazy moves at the beginning, I don't think, because there's simply no need to do it. We had 100 laps in Indy 250, and while those guys went all out throughout every single lap of that race, I'd imagine at least, I don't think we're going to see that tonight. I think it's going to be a tame race. It normally is here at Charlotte. These guys, they're smart racers. They're not very aggressive, I don't think, at the start of these races, but there is normally a turning point in this race. I've noticed that in the past couple of seasons. We'll see when that point comes, but cases where around lap 50, lap 60, something happens. Maybe it's a caution. Maybe the leader has an issue where it just throws a wrench into the whole equation. So we'll see if that happens again tonight.
We definitely will, and while he mentions it's going to be a tamer race, it's still going to be wild out here, but they usually keep it together without wrecking. This race has actually gone caution-free before a couple of times. It did not last year. We had one caution last year, and it actually completely changed the outcome of the race, and like you're saying, Luke, that could be the turning point in this race as well. You don't know. There will be one fewer pit stop in this race here today. We're going back to 2X on the pit stop instead of 3X like we always have done in the past. So they won't have to come down as frequently, which a lot of what we had last season was problems with these guys coming down a little too frequently and cautions coming out while they were coming down through the green flag cycles and all that jazz. And that's why for a lot of these races this season, it's been 2X on the pit stops like today. And that will definitely affect the outcome of the race as well, considering that they're going to be out on the racetrack a little bit more than they have been in past years in this race. But either way, we got an interesting battle in the championship brewing right here. Points leader, John Andrews in the 04 machine, 380 points towards the championship for him. The guy who is starting third in this race, and so far the only two-time winner this season, Nathan Baird, rookie driver for Kinghart Family Racing, is 6 points behind. Emily Anderson is 20 points behind. Mark Davidson, 33 points behind. And Sebastian Kukulon, 37 points behind. Would also like to mention Trey Bartos, 6th in the points after winning last week. He's starting on the outside pole for this race. He is 46 behind coming in to tonight's event for the Coke 600. Thursday night in qualifying, the number 24 of Roger Ray grabbed the fastest time, and he was able to do it with help from Trey Barta. But for those guys, the top two here in the starting grid, and because of their help with each other, they're going to lead the field. The green flag here in the Coca-Cola 600. Row number 2 is Nathan Baird, who we mentioned is only 6 points behind our points leader John Anders. He's alongside Andrew Ross in number 35. Who raced in the Indianapolis 250 earlier today. We'll do some more racing here tonight at Charlotte. Row at number 3, it's Diego Yepez in the number 92 alongside Emily Anderson in number 5 for EGI. Elijah Gordon almost won this race in season number 2, but near the end of the race lost the lead to Warren Henniger, who ended up taking the race victory that season. Elijah Gordon would love to see Emily Anderson grab the race victory here tonight and get the EGI name at Victory Lane in a place where Elijah Gordon feels like he should have won back in Season 2. Mark Davidson's alongside Andrew Miller, teammates at the Tanker Motorsports organization. And then Ace Garcia, who was in the Indy 250 earlier today, alongside Garrett Sinor in the number 16. Garrett Sinor hasn't won a race since Season 4. Tonight would be a great place to break that losing streak. Remember Stuart Gratton in Season 5. He had yet to win a race since Season 1 when he won this race in Season 5, and it was definitely a fan-favorite victory when Stewart grinding across the finish line here. First place in Season 5, but we'll have to see who gets it done here tonight. Thank you guys so much for such an amazing Indy 250 week. We cap it off tonight with the Coke 600. We're Green Flag Racing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Lap 1, led by Roger Ray. Trey Bartow not wasting any time getting right behind him. However, I know you mentioned it, qualifying on Thursday night. Starting on the outside lane is worse than starting 22nd or 21st on the inside. Well, that must not have been the case for Trey Bartow, because he's going to go ahead and take the race lead away from Roger Ray on lap 2.
Yeah, that completely caught me off guard. I can't believe Trey Bartow was able to get clear like that. Rather amazing by the 4. He certainly had some assistance though on the start, because whenever he went 3 wide behind, that kind of stalled out all 3 of those cars. He might not get the lead though. Roger Ray hanging top on the outside line, but Trey Bartow job on that start, one way or another.
Got a bonus point towards the championship for leading a lap right there. Roger Ray also a bonus point for leading a lap as well. And early on in these runs, when the tires are fresh and new, that outside lane works pretty well here at Charlotte. But Trey Bartow definitely seems to have the fastest race car, especially through turns 1 and 2. That outside lane works pretty well. You get a really good arc entering in the corner. And you can see Roger Ray really pushing it on the outside lane in the number 24.
By side entering turn number 3. We'll see what happens right here. Tires are still fresh, so, well, there's the inside line getting a little bit of momentum, so inside line looks like it's the place to be in 3 and 4, outside in 1 and 2. So Trey Bartow will get the lead because of that. Still side by side behind for second.
Roger Ray battling with Mark Davidson for the second position. Ace Garcia alongside Diego Yepes back in there. Bartow pulling away there. Got a great run through the corner. He and Roger Ray have swapped positions the past few laps, but it looks like Bartow's going to become the first driver in this race to lead consecutive laps in the 2019 Coca-Cola 600.
Flaps in. That's a pretty good trait right there, having the lead get swapped like that. That's what you want to see. But, 3 wide for third place. Here comes the 40 of Nathan Baird to the inside.
Nathan Baird, already a 2-time winner this season. He's going for his 3rd win of the season here in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. He's the only driver to win multiple races yet this season, and he went 3 wide out of the inside of Ace Garcia and Roger Ray. Now he's to the inside of Roger Ray. That is for the 4th position, and Baird has cleared the 24 for the 4th position. Side by side between Matt Dalio and Diego Yepes. Great to see Matt Dalio run up front. And remember, I alluded last week to when Trey Bartow won to guys like Dalio, like Sam Badillo, and Garrett Sonor, who have long losing streaks like Trey Bartow when Bartow broke that long losing streak in North Wilkesboro. Saying it gave them new hope. It gives them a new leaf here in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. Hope for those guys to possibly break their losing streaks as well, because they know they can do it. They've seen when their guys do it now. And Matt Dalio up here, Garrett Sonor up here as well, Nicholas Samedillo, another one of those guys, all looking to get their first Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victories in quite some time. Just have to see if they're in contention later on in the event. Trey Bartow holding on to the race lead ahead of Mark Davidson. Bartow's led the most laps so far in this race. That was the case last weekend in North Wilkesboro for driver number 4. And looks like Trey Bartow riding that momentum very well. Remember, he comes into this race 6th in the championship standings. He has a good chance at coming in the championship contention next week at the Pocono Raceway, where he got his first career Napa fan win all the way back in Season 1 of the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. But Trey Bartow on Cloud 9 right now, leading this race here in the Coca-Cola 600.
And it looks like these guys starting to settle it down a little bit, but Garcia about to get passed by Roger Ray, perhaps side by side entering 3. Garcia looks like we'll have a little bit of momentum on the exit, but they're going to be dead even coming down to the line. Outside line, I believe it still has a little bit of momentum in turn 1. Ace Garcia is able to get the job done up there. Dead even pretty much again. Roger Ray is getting that advantage with the lower groove, and he is now clear for the spot. Nice little competitive battle between 24 and 92.
92 of Diego Pez behind all this. There's the 81 of Ace Garcia trying to work that outside lane. You see the outside of Andrew Ross right now. Both of these guys racing in Indy earlier today as Indy 250 only drivers. Of course, both these guys full-time in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series this season. And looks like Andrew Ross going to get around the 81 there of Ace Garcia for that position. That for the 5th position for the lead. Mark Davison is closed in on Trey Bartow. He's going to try to take it away from the 8th-season veteran. Will he get the run on the inside, or will Bartow hang tough on the outside lane? And here's a new cam we've never used before at Charlotte, the spectator cam. I'm surprised it took me as long as it did to finally notice this, but it's a great camera angle here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. A new perspective here for the Coke 600 this year. And we'll switch between the TV1 and the spectator cam throughout the event. Give you guys a fresh look at the racing here at Charlotte. But back to the inside, Trey Bartow not letting Mark Davison pull away with this thing. Bartow back to the inside, trying to take it away from the 95.
Almost feels like Talladega Nights, where they're saying slingshot engage. These guys just swap the lead back and forth, and it's not costing them too much time, but looks like 95 is going to be able to get that run on the exit, but Trey Bartow hangs tough back on the bottom, still side by side for third as well. Lots of competitive racing at the front. Much under a blanket right now, heading into turn 3. Bartow to the lead again.
Trey Bartow is definitely on a hot streak here, looking for his 2nd straight win in the Chick-fil-A Cup season. I don't think Bartow's ever won back-to-back races before. Not many drivers have actually done that, especially in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. I don't know if it's ever happened in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. It might have. I think it has before. I can't remember when it has happened, but Trey Bartow definitely looking strong right now, and I mentioned last week too, moving over to Titan Fury Motorsports for Bartow was definitely a great move for the experienced veteran. And like I said, last year the single car team did not have a good run. Here he's now with a championship organization, teammates in Brad Stover, who was the Rookie of the Year last year, and last year's Turkey Hill Series champion Sebastian Kukulon. And you know, he's being a mentor to those drivers while battling for these races and these race wins. So Trey Bartow, definitely a great fit at Titan Fury, and getting passed by Mark Davison, but he's stuck in an outside lane, and he just couldn't get up the stick there in the number 4. But Davison back to the race lead with help from Nathan Baird, Roger Ray, Ace Garcia up front as well. And they're all under a blanket once again here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Impressed by 95 being able to get around. Whoa, a weird entry there into the corner for Pez. He kind of just shot it straight up the track. That was a little bizarre. But looks like he's still going to be able to maintain his position over to 35 of Ross. As they enter turn number 3, Bartow still on that outside line. He might have a little bit of a wait before he's able to get down, but he should find a gap before he loses 7 positions, though. That is the good news for Bartow, but not if they're going to go 3 wide, entering turn 1. That's going to be a problem.
Andrew Ross, a highly aggressive driver this season in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series, and I don't get this line they're taking. They're shooting it up the racetrack in between turns 1 and 2 right there. And because of that, Bartow was able to clear and get ahead of Andrew Ross. Here's some guys who are pretty experienced veterans. Emily Anderson in the number 5, even though she's a rookie to this series, she's been racing since 2016 here on NAPA-FAM. Matt Dahlia to her outside, Andrew Miller, Garrett Senor, and Nicholas Samadio all here. They're all looking for a race win that would definitely turn their careers around. Of course, Emily Anderson been working her way through the ranks here on NAPA-FAM. Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victory would kind of almost be the top for her. Andrew Miller still going for his first career NAPA-FAM win. He almost won the Freedom 50 on Friday yesterday. Could not beat out John Arndt, who, by the way, congratulations to driver 05 for winning his 18th career race yesterday. If he were to win here tonight, he would tie Garrett Senor as the all-time winningest driver on NAPA-FAM. But right now, John Arndt midway through the field in 23rd. Not sure if he's going to have a shot at the race victory here tonight. Another guy I'd like to mention is Hertel Larvin Alonso, the number 63. Yes, the number 63. He's paying tribute to his late uncle, Ferdinand Gabad. Ferdinand Gabad had a few wins here in NAPA-FAM back in the day. Unfortunately, Ferdinand Gabad passed away earlier this month, but Alonso wanted to commemorate him with the number that Ferdinand Gabad made his first career NO 2003 start on, and number 63, driven by Hertel Larvin Alonso here tonight. Not only that, he's also paying tribute to the American flag, even though he isn't even American. he might be the guy everyone wants to win here tonight in another 63. We're just going to have to see. But definitely a great honor there by Hedger 11 Alonso, commemorating his late uncle Ferdinand Gabat. And we'll have to see what he does as this race goes along. Back to the race lead here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and you can see how much they have spread out in the top 10 now. The 95 of Mark Davidson pulling away with Nathan Baird, Roger Ray, Ace Garcia, Diego Yepes, Trey Barto, Matt Dalio, Andrew Ross, Emily Anderson, and Andrew Miller. The top 10 on lap 21 of 80. We're a quarter of the way through the Coca-Cola 600 here at Charlotte.
You know, we're a quarter of the way up based on the lap count. I don't even think the race has started because we don't really know who's going to contend for this win until we get to pit stops. That's probably going to start 5 to 10 laps from now, maybe a little more than 5. That'd be a little bit early in the window, but as these guys run single file, I think it's a good thing for whenever they come down pit road. They're running single file because that means we're going to have less guys that get checked up on entry, but I'm hoping they continue that. But these guys are going to be running side by side in a few other spots, and I get the feeling it's probably going to change. We are going to see a little bit more double file racing before they actually start coming down pit road. But I'm hoping these guys are able to race it smart, race intelligently. It's very early on in the race to be going so aggressive, especially whenever you have pit stops coming. I mean, this is a narrow track for pit road, so I am worried about that.
Yeah, hopefully they can get on the pit lane pretty well. I know last year they actually had a caution on the racetrack. Right when green flag pit stops were going on, and actually gave Christian Vargas the race victory. And I do remember, I think the caution was caused because of the guys trying to come down the pit lane. This is the hardest pit lane to come down on any racetrack we go to on the circuit here in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. And it's just such a tight racetrack through the corner, and such a really, high transition from the high banks to the low apron there to get onto the pit lane. And all these guys running at the speeds they're running at tend to check up into each other, and we've seen it happen before where wrecks have happened to trigger the caution right when green flag pit stops are supposed to begin. We're hoping it does not happen. Knock on wood right there. Hopefully that does it right there. But either way, it is what it is, and that's just the thing about the Coke 600. You never know what to expect in this race. So many crazy things can happen in an 80-lap race at Charlotte.
And another thing about pit road difficulties is it's not just coming into pit road. Sometimes coming out whenever you have guys merging back on the track and you have some guys coming in pit road a couple laps after that. That tends to cause a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, a lot of checking up as well. That can cost some guys some spots, maybe even race cars if they get into that crash. But knocking on wood, as you just did about a lap ago, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we're clean the whole way through.
Yeah, this race has gone caution-free in the past. When Stuart Grattan won this event in Season 5, it was a caution-free race, and I can remember that race being one of the best races we ever had in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series, so we hope for a caution-free race here tonight. We don't really like too many caution-free races, but this is one where we want it to be caution-free, because Charlotte is just something else when a caution comes out. Here we go.
Here we
Moment
go.
of truth right here. Mark Davidson all by himself. And he just doesn't want to have to deal with it. And he's coming down kind of early here. Everybody else staying out here. And another thing, too, we saw this in the Throwback Series race. When somebody tries to come down the pit lane and everyone's racing around them, they will slow down. And sometimes they cannot check up properly. Remember, in the Throwback Series race, Gatlin Downing got spun around because of, it was a Christopher Altheby, I do believe? No. Jonathan Rains, who actually came down the pit lane there. But here we go again. A lot more guys coming down this time. Seems to be pretty orderly at the moment. And we survived, guys. Keep on knocking on that wood for us. We'd appreciate it. Ace Garcia now the race leader, and with it spread out like this, I'd expect them to be able to make it through these pit stops without an accident. Of course, we got all these guys back in here. It would really be unfortunate if a back marker ended up, well, I shouldn't say back marker. Some of these guys have won races this season, but all these guys in the back, be very unfortunate if one of them ended up causing an accident here. We'll check in with these guys. There we go. That was a close one, but they kept it together. And that was Wyatt Quayle with damage in the 33. And I can say if we get past the first green flag set, we should be good to go. And we shouldn't have too much of an issue once we get to the second one. But a two-stop race here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're holding our breath right now because we don't want to have to redo this again. Looks like Yepez got a good run off the pit lane. Here comes Mark Davidson, who was the first guy off. He's going to drive around Yepez, or will he? Yes, he will. Mark Davidson pulling away. Remember, Davidson was a guy who was leading him the points a majority of the early part of the season. And now, he's on the verge of his first career Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victory. We'll have to see if all these guys behind him close in. We'll have to see where these guys come out in relation to him. I don't know if John Enders made a stop yet. He's probably at the end of the field. That's not good for our points leader. Oh, yeah, he is 41st right now. And his teammate, Alexander Rowe, well, you know what? He's now 42nd. Because Alexander Rowe had already made a pit stop, come back around. Not looking good for John Anders in the 04, our points leader, who was going to end up last. I don't know who ran into Wyatt Quayle there. I can't quite remember. But you see the damage to the 33 as they were trying to come down the pit lane. Didn't really work out too well for him, but here we go. We got these three guys, and I'd expect these three guys to possibly close in on Mark Davidson here soon. Roger Ray, Ace Garcia, Matt Delio. How about Brad Stover up here in the 99? He won at Rockingham earlier this season. Looking pretty good for driver number 99. It's been a really good week for Titan Fury Motorsports. Trey Barger got the win last week in North Wilkesboro. They're looking for their third win of the season between their three drivers. Matthew Phillips and teammate Andrew Ross inside the top 10. Angel Olvera, part-time driver for Wade Enterprises, and Andrew Miller rounding out the top 10 here at Charlotte. Mark Davidson in the 95 for Tanker Motorsports, holding on to the race lead. He came down before anybody else, got those fresh tires, and was able to keep the advantage on the rest of the field here on lap 32.
I'm a little surprised he pulled off that strategy. I'm against leaders trying off the chart type things. Maybe I wouldn't say off the chart, but let's just say out of the norm situations there where he came in a lap early. I wouldn't be taking that type of risk. As a leader, you want to try and beat the status quo. You don't want to. There's no real need for you to take a gamble necessarily, but either way, it worked out for him. He got a comfortable advantage over the rest of this field, with the exception of Yepez, who is kind of close to him, but he is still the leader. So definitely it was a smart decision to make at the end of the day.
Definitely was, and like Luke's alluding to, we could have easily had a wreck that brought out the caution during those green flag stops, and he would have been a lap down if a caution came out. And that's the dangerous part about pitting early here at Charlotte. You don't want to do it. Roger Ray got around Matt Delia for third. I believe these guys are closing in on our two race leaders, especially if these guys happen to go side by side anytime soon. They're going to be right on them, and they are closing in. About 2/10 every lap here for Roger Ray in the number 24. Matthew Phillips is here, Andrew Ross, Ace Garcia. If they all get in a single file line, they're going to close right in on Mark Davidson and Diego Yepez, especially if these guys remain like this. Yepez for the race lead on lap 35. Yepez is trying to get his second win of the season. He got the win at Auto Club back in March, and he's leading the Coke 600 here at Charlotte.
Just have a lap extra. Fresh tires. I'm not sure if that's playing a huge difference into this, but he does look like he has a slightly faster car than the 95. We'll see if that continues, but now 95 is going to get in the draft off of him rather than it being the other way around as we saw a couple laps ago, but Yepez is pulling ahead.
The full frontal motorsports driver of Diego Yepez looking pretty fast. That team, William Brock's team, has won twice this season already with Yepez and Wyatt Quayle. Their only driver yet to win a race this season, Carter Friesen in the 68. But Yepez looking pretty strong right now in the number 92 as he got right around the 95. And, after they went side by side, they were able to pull away there from Roger Ray and these guys who are battling for the third position. Brad Stover, he's come out of nowhere to take the fourth position away. Didn't even see him in the top 10 a majority of that run, but now he is going for third on Roger Ray. Looking pretty good for Brad Stover here tonight for Titan Fury Motorsports, isn't it?
And I gotta tip my cap off to him as the IROC 4 champion, beating me in that Indianapolis race on Wednesday, and that was a frustrating one for me to lose. I felt like that could have definitely played out a little better in my hands, but either way, he did his job. He did what he needed to do to get that championship, maintaining his position, finishing in 6th place to get the job done. So I'm going to finish off this week with a nice run and maybe even a win. He's still got a chance at about 2.5 seconds behind.
We'll have to see what Brad Stover can do. You see the gap between Mark Davidson and Roger Ray, and it looks like Diego Yepez has that thing tuned in to perfection right now. But, it's something you mentioned at the top of the show. There's always a turning point in this race, and we had one last year with a late caution. This race has gone caution-free halfway past the Coke 600. Do you think it's going to remain caution-free, or do you think somebody's going to make a mistake somewhere, and we get ourselves an interesting final few laps here at Charlotte?
Don't know if these guys are going to be perfect, but there could be a little bit of a stack up on pit roads we saw in the first attempt. These guys coming in, or not the first attempt, but the first set of stops that we saw. There was a small incident that did cause a caution. I do feel like we will see another one of that. I don't think it'll be a turning point necessarily in this race, but if these guys are able to spread out before pit stops, I think we'll be fine. This is the only pack I really think is big enough to cause an issue, and we got about a dozen cars in it. We'll just have to see if these guys are close or they end up spreading out, but we do have some actually decent-sized groups that will be coming in, and that could cause a little bit of confusion with some guys staying out and others coming in at once.
I believe everybody is still on the lead lap. Last driver on the lead lap is Silas Oro, who's 23 seconds behind right now. And of course, Wyatt Quill had the damage as he was trying to come down the pit lane. You can see the whole field right here. All these guys at Bartow. Whoa, that's very different. He's 25th right now. Remember, he was in the top 5 when the cycle began. He did not get a good pit stop at all. And that's going to take him out of contention from the race victory here tonight. Tough break for Trey Bartow. As we get back up through the field here. Mentioned this big pack right here, and that's very possible these guys could close in on our 2 leaders, but they haven't really been able to eat away at that 2-second lead. I mean, Brad Stover's pulled away. Matthew Phillips has found his way in 4th. Then it's Roger Ray, Andrew Ross, Matt Gallio, Andrew Miller, Ace Garcia, and Emily Anderson now inside the top 10. If they remain single file, I think they'd get to them, but as you can tell, they're not really too content with doing that. There goes Roger Ray for 4th on Matthew Phillips.
This is a little bit interesting here. I feel like I'd be racing a lot more conservatively and a lot more strategically if I was in this pack, but these guys, interest it looks like, but they're going to slot back and line single file, but I don't think it's going to last. I feel like we are going to see an attempt at a position down the front straightaway within that group, but they are closing in slightly. There's still 30-some laps to go and a pit stop to go, so I'd say anyone that pack still has at least a remote shot at winning this race. It's just they're not really helping their odds by battling, but Stover is within 2 seconds now.
Yeah, and that's the closest anyone has gotten to Diego Yepez for the race lead since the cycle of pit stops. Actually, since the race leader, I should say, because Mark Davidson did lead a few laps before Yepez passed him there, but let's see what Brad Stover's doing. And Brad Stover, even now, he doesn't really even have help from behind. He's pulled away from the guys battling for 4th, and good sign for Brad Stover. He might have a very fast race car here tonight. He might have a shot at the race victory. You got Andrew Ross to the inside of his teammate, Matthew Phillips. These guys have been battling for quite a bit. Matt Dallio's up here. Great run for Dallio. Great run for Miller. Great run for Ace Garcia. All these guys trying to get their first win of the season here in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series Season number 8. Still green. We've gone green all 47 laps so far here in this year's Coca-Cola 600. Diego Yepez leading the field. I believe he's led the most laps so far because he's led the last 10 laps in this race, I believe. So he's doing pretty good in that number 92, keeping Mark Davidson behind him.
Davidson does look like he's trying to contend for this race lead. Looks like he's closing in just a little bit on that gap. He had a very good lap that last time around. He got an extra 1,500ths within that lead. It's almost a quarter of the distance at least. So that's really good there for good for the 92, I should say. Now here we go for the lead.
Mark Davidson trying to get to the inside of the number 92 of Diego Yepez for the race lead. Yepez in his second season. Mark Davidson a rookie, and that is going to slow him down. Brad Stover, Roger Ray closed in 0.4 of a second that last lap, and that's what side-by-side racing can do here at Charlotte for you. And Stover, Roger Ray, they're not out of this thing. Neither is Dallio or Miller or Ross. I think anyone from Christian Master on up can win this race here tonight. Very possible any of those guys can get the W because they're starting to close back in on our race leaders.
A lap ago off turn 4, I thought there was going to be a bit of a collision between your two leaders. I mean, that was close between Davidson and Yepes. I mean, they kept it straight. Props to both of them. But there's still 30-some laps to go. I don't know if I'd be trying anything like that quite yet. And that ended up costing Davidson because he got really loose off the side of Yepes and 22. And here's Brad Stover, and Stover's going to be making a move on Davidson, I believe, and any moment now. He is just these laps in, he's churning away at that gap.
He definitely is. That time whoa boy, that was a huge gain for Brad Stover. Went from 1.21 to 0.63 for the number 99. He cut it in half, that one lap right there, and he's trying to close in on Mark Davidson for second. Problem is, he's got to get around Davidson, and that's going to slow him down if he wants to close in on Diego Yepes for the race lead. But Yepes putting on a clinic right now, the number 92. Very uncharacteristic to see that in a mile-and-a-half race track where a guy dominates like Yepes. And when I say that, if you're new to Enter 2003 racing, the mile-and-a-half races are some of the best races, and we usually get a lot of passing at them. So far tonight, after the first cycle of pit stops, Yepes has been able to dominate. It's only been Davidson and Yepes leading this race since the first cycle of green flag pit stops. But do you think anybody else is going to have a shot at the race win after the second cycle?
Oh, we still got the turning point to hit. We have 20-some laps to go, so we're running out of time for that turning point to happen, but I don't see this race just going fully on the script. I feel like there's going to be something that's going to happen. It's going to throw a whole wrench into the equation. Might not even come out of this group of 3 here, but there is a good chance that Yepes, with the fastest car, could walk home with this thing. But Mark Davis and Brad Stover, we'll have to see what Stover can do now that he has closed down your leaders. And here he comes for second place.
He's got an easy pass on him here. I can tell just by the way he dove to the inside. I don't see Davidson getting the run up top here and being able to keep the 99 behind him. And there goes Stover clearing off the corner. And he is now in the second position. Brad Stover might be the guy to beat in this race because he really reeled those guys in, and he made an easy pass on Davidson. Didn't lose too much ground to Yepes, I don't believe. But he did have a bit of a checkup there, and Davidson's right behind him again. We'll have to see if the 95 tries to dive to the inside for second. Not going to be the case. Stover actually closed in on Yepes that last lap, and I'd expect Stover to possibly even be the leader once we get the second cycle of green flag pit stops underway. Now, Mark Davidson came down lap 28, so I'd expect very, very soon Mark Davidson to come down for his second cycle, and it will be the last stop of the day for these guys, as we have at the line 25 laps to go in the Coca-Cola 600. Another long green flag run to open this race up. Of course, a lot of races as of late, we've had an early caution in them. Not today. 56 laps in, and we've been green the entire way through, and here we go for the race lead. 56 laps in, and we can still have a battle like this. Well, Yepes has decided to come down the pit lane as the race leader, so Stover's going to take the lead away. Yepes now trying the strategy that Mark Davidson pulled the first time around. He's the only guy to come down on lap 56. Do you think that's going to hurt Yepes, or is that going to help him in the number 92 to possibly pull away with this race win?
Well, that's the definition of risk management right there. I don't know how else to define that. I mean, coming in a lap row, that's a huge risk, as we talked about in the first cycle. And it looks like we're going to see the 95 come in right here, as well as a few others. But for the most part, everybody's staying out. But
somebody missed the pit road, and that was Patrick Smith in the 66. He just lost a lot of ground in the North State Racing machine. And heck, North State Racing, this is their home race. Well, it actually might be Rockingham for those guys, but still, in a home state race, North State Racing based in North Carolina. Mitchell Henderson, Patrick Smith, the drivers on that team. That almost was very drastic for Patrick Smith. It actually kind of was. He's going to lose some positions after that one. Everyone coming down here for the second time and for the final time today. Patrick Smith finally getting back on there and getting into the pit lane safely. See all these guys. We're checking to make sure everyone gets off okay. There is Yepes in the 92 driving around here. And we'll have to see where these guys come out in relation, but where is he? I thought I saw the 92. There he is. He wasn't as far ahead as I thought he was.
This is going to be
Davidson's
close.
actually going to end up winning the race off here in the 95.
Oh, around that outside, it's going to be tough to beat.
He's got all the steam, though, in the 92. He might be able to make a move on Davidson. The rest of the guys down the pit lane right now and side by side for the tentative race lead. Now, they also have Brad Stover, who pretty much was the race leader right when that cycle began. He was coming to take it away. I do not know where he is. He might not have had a good pit stop. Yepes clears Davidson. And everybody else is going to be way behind the two leaders here. I don't even see Stover anymore. Where did he go?
This is clearly a bad stop there for Stover.
Oh, wait, you know what? He had yet to come down. Excuse me. He stayed out a lot longer than everybody else, I believe. And here he is, coming off of turn number 2. Yepes gonna easily drive by him. And that strategy worked out for Yepes fairly well. Next time by, 20 laps to go in the Coca-Cola 600. Will Diego Yepes grab his second career Chick-fil-A Cup Series victory here tonight? Yeah, just look at how spread out it is behind him. I don't think anybody's going to have a shot at this one with the exception of Yepes or Davidson.
One thing that Stover may have going for him is that since he stayed out a little bit longer, he'll have slightly fresher tires. But with 20 laps to go, I mean, he's going to be battling against time here. I mean, 2.5 seconds without any draft whatsoever. He's going to need those guys to run side by side at the front for laps on end.
Oh, Yepes with a problem! The number 92 with an issue! And here's your turning point that you were talking about. We thought Yepes was going to dominate this race and pull away. And an issue on the number 92. And here's the deal. If he stops on the racing surface, we end up with a caution, but if he stays on the apron, we'll stay green. He's going to stop on the racetrack right here. Unbelievable for Diego Yepes. He was on the verge of his second career Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victory, and he is now in the garage in the number 92, and this one was just a gift handed to Mark Davidson. 2-second lead. And nobody around him, but here's a bit of a problem. He has nobody to draft with, while these guys, they're all bunching up, and they might gang up on that 95 before this race is over. So that might not have played into Davidson's favor the way he wanted it to. But there you go. The turning point of the race. Dominant guy, Diego Yepes. He is going to end up finishing dead last here at Charlotte after all the laps he led earlier on.
I said turning point leading up to this race countless times. I talked about the turning point, the turning point, turning point. I did not think that would be... I believe one of those times that, you know, the leader may have an issue actually happened this late into the race to a guy that dominated this race. I mean, he dominated until that point. I mean, I was impressed by what Diego Yepes was able to do. And over for 92, and I think that's going to save this race in terms of having a major battle for the win, because Mark Davidson is not going to maintain that gap. It's just impossible because he's going to have no draft, but I don't know how strong this draft is going to be for these guys. It's going to be a race against the lap counter in these final 15 laps.
Ooh, he actually pulled away from Stover that last lap, so he might actually still have something in that 95. It's 15 to go for Mark Davidson in the number 95 machine, looking for his first career Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victory. And you gotta think, too, he dominated the first part of this season earlier on, but he had yet to get a race win up to this point. He's 33 behind John Andrews, and to allude to our points leader once again, Andrews has actually rebounded pretty well after being last after the first cycle of green flag pit stops. He is now 25th, so Davidson will not take the points lead if he wins the race. But he'll be back in championship contention if he does. And Roger Ray to the inside for second. That's a fatal flaw right there. You cannot go side by side at this point of the race and expect to close in on a race leader like that. I mean, Davidson has absolutely nobody around him. Now, he might run in the Josh Marzak in the 34. Marzak crossed the start-finish line not too long ago, so we'll have to see what happens. And I'm wondering if Yepes getting back out there. He might have just blown a tire in the 92 and could not get back around because he's changing tires now, and it looks like he's actually going to get back on the racetrack. That's interesting there for Diego Yepes, but still last right now for the number 92 of Yepes. He's not going to get the race victory here tonight.
don't know if I've ever seen it happen where, you know, it looked like that was a terminal issue for 92, but at the end of the day, it was just a tire. He's got to fall a few laps down, obviously, and he's finishing dead last, 99% certainty of that at this point, but...
Now, here's the deal with these guys. If they stay single file like this, they will close right in on Mark Davidson for the race lead. And look at these two guys. Zidell Motorsports, Roger Ray, and Christian Master. And hey, Christian Master's another guy with a really long losing streak here in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. You know he wants this race victory. He wants to be the driver to get Zidell Motorsports their first ever race victory. But you can't do that. He's got to get around Stover quickly if it's going to work for him. He can't stay side by side for too long, but they are closing in on Mark Davidson. You can see Davidson in the picture coming to 10 laps to go here in the Coke 600. Now Master to the inside of his teammate for third. Oh, and that's not going to work out too well for those guys.
Well, this is where if you're Mark Davidson's spotter, you have to be telling him the distance in between the 95 and the guy behind him in second, which it looks like it's going to be Brad Stover, if or even when they run into him at this point. So crucial for Mark Davidson to at least mentally prepare and adjust for the run that whoever's going to have.
Coming to 9 laps to go this time by for Mark Davidson. The gap right now at the line, a 1.50, so it did not close in that much. It's only going to really close in if these guys stay single file and they bunch up. That's when they gain all the speed on Mark Davidson. And Davidson is now getting a bit of a draft off of Josh Marzak, so he's got a bit of an advantage now. He might be able to close in. Another problem, Alexander Rowe in the truck, or in the car that won this race last year, has blown up. Not been a good night for Wade Enterprises. The 06 of Alexander Rowe done for the night. That is definitely not going to get back on the racetrack. 1.26 seconds between Brad Stover and Mark Davidson. I mean, I would venture to say Davidson closing in on Marzak's going to help him, but he's going to have to pass him at some point too, and then they'd be going side by side. And you don't want that with these guys closing in as fast as they are. You know, Christian Master's going to go for second. That's exactly what Mark Davidson wants to see in his rearview mirror.
We're not sure.
Yeah, and he closed in. He closed up too. Pulled away that lap. Davidson's definitely getting a draft on Marzak, and Master unable to get to the inside of Stover. Game of cat and mouse right here. Davidson's got to be careful getting around the 34. He's got to do it quickly as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Marzak's car. He's just as fast as everybody else, but he just has not had a good night on the pit lane. Davidson's going to try right here. Side by side. Now, if Marzak gets the run up top, which he easily will, that's going to slow down Davidson tremendously. Here we go. Matthew Phillips on Christian Master. That's for third. Roger Ray's falling back in the 24. Angel Olvera to fifth for Wade Enterprises in the number 46. What a great run for him here tonight. And Stover's definitely going to close in quite a bit this lap. Davidson's going to try again, but the gap's going to be a lot smaller this time. 1.09. That was that's half a second. Closing half a second that lap because of Davidson getting to the inside of Marzak.
Like
and Marzak's still battling with the 95 on the inside lane.
If he cleared him, though, so good news for Mark Davidson, but it might be a little bit too late because Brad Stover's going to have draft.
Oh, yeah. Stover is now in the draft of Josh Marzak. If he gets around the 34 cleanly and quickly, he'll be right on the back bumper of Mark Davidson. 4 laps to go in the Coke 600. Looking for a caution-free race here tonight. Half a second between Mark Davidson and Brad Stover for the race lead.
I believe his best bet's to set up this pass in turn 3. That's what he's doing. If he gets
oh boy, Marzak almost closed the door on him. That's going to slow down the 99. Marzak might get back on the 95's bumper, though. And it's possible that Marzak could try to get around Mark Davidson again. Stover's going to try again to get around the 34. Couldn't do it.
I don't know what
as long as he keeps the inside here, he will get around Marzak, but it's going to be 2 laps to go next time by, and I just don't see it happening for Brad Stover at this point. He's got to pass Marzak here if he's going to have any shot. He's got help now from Christian Master, but they're still side by side. That is going to kill it for Brad Stover. Any chance he had of winning this race is gone now because he got stuck trying to get around the 34, but he does have help from Christian Master. If Master can stay behind him, he might have a chance. It's 2 laps to go for Mark Davidson here at Charlotte. I just don't think it's going to be enough. It's 7/10 of a second. Stover's going to really have to push it on the final lap to get around the 95 for this race win, but you know what? He is in the draft of the 95, and he might have a chance on the final lap of the race. We're just going to have to find out. White flag in the air in the Coke 600 for Mark Davidson in Tanker Motorsports.
That just looks a little bit too big right now as they head into turn number 1. But Brad Stover, he's just trying to eat away at it. If he had one more lap, I'd give him a chance. But I don't think it's going to happen. Mark Davidson just had too big of an advantage, and they were closing in. It's just not going to be enough.
Christian Master going to stay behind Brad Stover. Stover is really pushing it here in the 99. But it's just not going to be enough. Mark Davidson, first career Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victory here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And he can thank his lucky stars. Diego Yepez had the issue he did, because Yepez was going to get this race victory here tonight if it weren't for his issue. But instead, Tanker Motorsports gets their first win of the season, and Mark Davidson is back in championship mode here in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. Halfway through the season, and Davidson might be the championship favorite, looking to become the first ever rookie champion in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series.
Run there for the 95. He's got to be proud of himself for that one. And as you said, he did benefit from some circumstances that weren't in his control. Maybe were a little bit more in luck's control. That's sometimes what it takes to win these races, and talk about the turning point heading into today. But the one thing that really, I think, won him this race was the fact that the second group spent so much time battling for second place in those final 15-10 laps. If they didn't do that, they would have had that extra quarter of a second they needed to contend for that win truly against 95 and difference. And I didn't think it would. I thought they would catch up to no problem, to be honest with you, but turns out I was not correct in that.
Mark Davidson getting the race victory here tonight. Great run for him, and he was the leader when the first cycle began, and that was pretty much it from there. It was him and Yepez who were battling, and of course Yepez had his issue, and that was it from there. Mark Davidson was not able to, Brad Stover was not able to get to Mark Davidson. Stover came close there, and I think, as you said, if there was one more lap, I think Stover probably would have gotten to him, but Marzak just got in the way of those guys, and it led way to Mark Davidson grabbing his first career Chick-fil-A Cup Series race victory. Take a look at the rest of the results right here. Marzak a lap down, Yepez 5 laps down. I'd venture to say he had a tire go down because no smoke came from his race car, and Alexander Rowe with an ignition issue finishing last year today in the car that won this race 1 year ago. But see the rest of the results right there. Great run for John Art in the 05, Matt Dallio, Andrew Miller. Of course, Andrew Miller, he got the best of John Art here today. Wasn't the case yesterday in the Freedom 50. John Art got him in that one, but now they're even. But either way, still a great race here at Charlotte. Probably one of the calmest Coke 600s I've seen. But I'm glad we went caution-free here tonight. No pit road issues like we had last year. And it was a legitimate race, too. Mark Davidson legitimately, fair and square, deserved this race victory. He was running up with Yepez. And who's to say he wouldn't have taken the lead away from Yepez if Yepez was able to stay out there. So, great job by Mark Davidson here tonight, grabbing his race victory. And I'm looking forward to see what happens in the second half of the season with this championship, because Mark Davidson's going to close in on the championship lead. And John Andrews, if you look at where he finished in this race, if I can find where he is, 30th. It's not the best of runs for a points leader. As a matter of fact, I believe Nathan Baird's going to end up being the new points leader at the end of the day. And Emily Anderson's going to be up there as well. It's going to be a lot of guys battling for that points lead, and it's going to be interesting to see who wins the championship in September at the Homestead Miami Speedway. But we still got all of the summer left to go. It's going to be a great summer here on NAPFan. So much coming up here on the channel. And final thoughts on this race, Luke. The Coke 600 at Charlotte, definitely an interesting one here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the whole race was defined by Diego Yepez's issue. I mean, that's frankly what it came down to. We didn't have the chaos we kind of expected during pit sequences. That didn't happen tonight. Instead, it was just this tire failure for Diego Yepez that, I mean, I don't know what would have caused that. He just came down pit road probably about 5 laps before that, so Maybe it was a loose lug nut or something along those lines. I mean, I can't think of what else it would have been. But just that was a stunning event, and that made a huge difference for not only this race but as well. I mean, not having that win, that's gonna really hurt him, as well as the fact that he finished way in the back today, dead last, or maybe next last. I don't know, but he was either way. He was in the 40s for sure. Just absolutely
tough break
for him,
there for Diego Yepes. And sorry to cut you off there. It's been a little bit choppy tonight. Nothing major, but sometimes just don't know when you're not talking. Oh boy. But either way, thank you guys so much for such an awesome Indy 250 week. Every single event was so much fun to do. It's actually kind of a mellow way to end it, actually, compared to all that we've had this week. I mean, every single race we've had this week has been, miles of excitement. This one was nice and calm, and I liked it that we kind of ended on a mellow race like this one. But you know what? I think Mark Davidson's pretty good with that. And next week we had the Pocono for the Herders Live Life with Flavor 400. You never know what's going to happen at Pocono. That's always, an interesting race there. That could turn out to be a lot like this race. We could easily go caution-free there at Pocono like we did last year at Pocono. So, going to be a great race weekend there. We got the Craftsman Throwback Series and the Rockstar Pro Series joining the Cup Series at Pocono. And we also have Herd's Elimination Series from Hillside. Unfortunately for you, you're not in championship contention over there anymore, but you'll still be racing in that race and might get a win around that mile-long racetrack. But either way, thank you guys so much for such an awesome Indy 250 week here in 2019. And God bless each and every one of you for making this whole thing possible. It was a great week, and I'm so glad you all enjoyed all that we did here on NFM this week. I'd like to thank Luke Rainey for joining me here tonight, Alex Bonsignor, who joined me earlier today for the Indy 250, Cody Sill and Marty Johnson, who joined me for the Freedom 50. I don't remember what it was. And Nathan Stapleton joining me for the Herd's Elimination Series and the IROC Series. Thanks to all the co-commentators this week who helped make this week possible. Do such a great job, and it was so much fun calling these races with you guys. And we'll do it again next year, guys. And it's going to be a fun summer here on that film hall we got going on. But either way, congratulations to Mark Davidson on his race victory here in the Coke 600. And here are the point standings after 14 races in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. We're halfway through. Let's see who wins this championship here in season number 8. On behalf of Luke Rainey, we'll see you guys next week from the Pocono Raceway. Congratulations to Mark Davidson once again, and I will see you guys later.